Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. We're talking April favorites, and this last month in April, I went on a couple of weekend trips. I went to Oakland to visit some friends. I went to Coachella sort of last minute, so my favorites are informed by travel, by enjoying the warmer weather, so you're going to see that throughout. But let's start with makeup. Interestingly enough, I fell in love with two mascaras, which doesn't happen very often to me because I'm very, very picky about mascaras. But I have the Tom Ford Extreme Lash and the Esem Cosmetics The Mascara. I tested both of these in new makeup videos last month, and they're both really good. They're both lengthening and defining. They do create volume, but they create a really nice fluttery lash. I'm wearing the Tom Ford mascara right now, and to be honest, when I first tried it, I liked it, but I didn't fall in love with it. But now that I've had it open for a couple of weeks, it's at its peak performance, and it's just so good. It creates a really separated, fluttery, but still dramatic lash. And the Esem mascara does a really similar thing. Actually, they even have very similar wand shapes, so let me show you. This is the Esem mascara shape. So it's pretty long, very separated, a little bit tapered at the end. And this is the Tom Ford wand. So comparatively, the Esem wand is shorter and skinnier than the Tom Ford wand, but they both are really good. The Tom Ford one is not waterproof or water resistant. I think the Esem might have a water resistant claim, but they both remove very easily with micellar water or a cleansing balm, and they rinse clean, and I don't have to go to battle with them to get them off. So I'm really impressed with these. The Tom Ford one is ridiculously expensive. It's $46 or something like that. I think the Esem one is $29. So, you know, it's still an investment, but definitely more approachable than basically a $50 mascara. So I hate to say that I really liked this, but I did. But if you want a similar effect, the Esem mascara is also really, really good. And they've both been very trusty and reliable, and I've brought them on my trips when I have traveled in the last month. Next up is the Rare Beauty Tinted Moisturizer. I also did a review and wear test of this. I have the shade 30N. I have heard some mixed reviews about this since I reviewed it, and it's mostly been from people with dry skin. I think people with dry skin have found that it potentially accentuates like peeling or any dry patches. And I can see that happening because this tinted moisturizer has a sort of self-setting, grippy property to it. So even though it's really thin and luminous and fluid and very spreadable, it does start to create a sort of film across the skin that lends it longevity, even though it's a lightweight and rather sheer tinted moisturizer. For me, that's the quality that I actually like about it, that film forming quality, because it brings the product longevity. Otherwise, it would just slide around on my face. But I understand why dry skins may not like it. However, I think if you have dry skin but you don't have dry patches, you would still really like this because it does have a radiant finish that somehow still looks good at the end of the day. I definitely do get shiny even when I powder it, but the product itself doesn't break up or gunk up on my skin. So I've really been enjoying it. I do think 30 Neutral, it's a good match for me. It is a little bit warm. It does lean a little bit peachy. Nothing too noticeable. Honestly, it wouldn't stop me from wearing the product. It's just something to note is that overall, I think Rare Beauty shades run a little bit peachier. Continuing with base products, I'm still loving the Dior Backstage Concealer. I think it's so good. It's creamy, it's thin, it's skin-like, but also really long wearing. The shade 2W is a perfect match for me. I've done a review on this before, and it just has replaced my other concealers. The one con about this is that the the tube gets a little bit messy, so it can kind of gunk up on the sides, and I don't think I'm that messy of a user. So just a minor con, you kind of want to give it a wipe every once in a while, but other than that, it's perfect. I love the brush applicator. That's what really makes this concealer so special, is it allows you to actually move around product without over applying. So I just really like that for targeted application. I think they totally nailed this formula. For eyeshadow, I am still loving the Patrick Ta Major Dimension 2 palette. This is the Rosy Toned palette. I'm actually wearing it today. I'm just wearing, believe it or not, this peachy shade all over the eye. It applies much deeper than it appears in the pan. I know in the pan it looks kind of like a fleshy color, but once it's applied, you can really build it up to get this nice like wash of a bright peachy pink. But this is just such a versatile palette. I love the cream shadows. They're super blendable. I've also done a full review on this that I will link in the cards. The mattes are so smooth. They're really soft and they blend like that. Like it takes no effort to blend out the mattes. I love the variation in the metallics. I know in the pan they look quite similar, but there are actually some plain, like not plain, classic metallics, and then these two are actually kind of sheer toppers. So you get a surprising amount of versatility with this, and I think any of the shades in here make a beautiful one and done eyeshadow, but they also create really complex looks when paired together as well. And so I've really enjoyed the color story. I think even though it looks very warm, you can go pretty neutral with this because there are these like dustier mauve tones that don't lean quite as warm. So I've really been enjoying this. I actually just got Major Dimension 1 in the mail and I'm really excited to play with that too. So I will definitely be sharing some looks with that. The last new makeup item that I've been loving this month is the Gucci Liquid Lip. So this is more of a sheer stain. It's not going to give you that intense, dried out, full pigment liquid lip look. It's more of a velvety blur stain. I love the formula and I love the shade especially. This is the shade They Met in Argentina, which is this really happy, corally rosewood. It really brings the face to life. I do think, you know, like any liquid lipstick, you want to exfoliate. If your lips are peeling, you're going to want to exfoliate or just wait until they're not peeling to use a formula like this. But it is a very matte, modern matte. It's not like paint the way that those old school matte liquid lipsticks are. It's very much a sheer modern matte wash of color, like a veil of color over the lips. And I've really liked that going into the summer season for a long wearing brighter lip color that you don't want to transfer, but that still looks skin-like and that looks fresh on the lips and not quite so old school with the matte formula. Then I've got two lipsticks that I've been loving. The first is the Merit lipstick. I've mentioned this so many times. I know you're probably sick of me talking about this, but this formula is just so good. And the shade Cabo has been getting a lot of love from me, especially moving into these warmer months, because it's just such a happy summery shade. It's an orangey red and it starts out sheer, kind of like that. That's one layer. You can definitely build it up to be more opaque, but it's just my favorite kind of bright lip to wear going into the summer seasons. And this is a hydrating lipstick, so it doesn't feel, it actually feels more like a lip balm, a little bit waxier than a lip balm, but it stays in place while still keeping the lips moisturized. And I just love that about it. And it's just an easy lipstick to wear. The next one is actually something I don't think I've talked about before on YouTube. It's the Estee Lauder Pure Illuminating Shine 903 Imaginary. That's the shade. And this is Estee Lauder's version of a shiny lipstick. It's moisturizing, it's juicy. It comes in this really beautiful gold tube. It's a slim bullet. And I'm actually wearing this shade right now, layered over something else, but I'll just do a little reapplication. This is a really underrated formula. I don't see a lot of people talking about it because I don't think a lot of people know about it. I actually learned about it because I've been doing some work with the brand. And so I had the opportunity to try these last year and it's been in rotation ever since. It's thin but creamy and luscious, and the tube itself is very weighty. It's a really luxe feeling component. It's got that magnet closure. And this is the swatch of the shade 903 Imaginary, which is a gorgeous peachy pink. You can see next to Cabo, this shade is a little bit more sheer. I do think the other Merit shades, the more neutral shades, are not quite as pigmented as this. They're closer to this Estee Lauder one in pigmentation. This one is a little bit more slippery, moisturizing, balmy. The Merit lipstick is more of a natural finish. I love all of the shades in this formula. There are some brighter pops of color as well as more neutral lip shades. And there's also a really bright cherry red in this lipstick formula that I can't think of the name right now, but it's a really great summery, vibrant red. And I just love these. I love this kind of formula year round, but especially going into warm months, paired with a really bronzy look. There's just nothing better in my opinion. Then I have some old favorites that I pulled out because we're moving into these warmer months. It's definitely heating up here in LA. The first one you will have seen me use so many times. It's the Victoria Beckham Beauty bronzer in the shade 02. This remains my most used powder bronzer, but especially as I'm leaning into more bronzer heavy looks, this has gotten a lot of action from me. It's a dual-sided pan, so you get one more neutral shade that is lighter, as well as one deeper shade that is richer and warmer. And there are 5 or 6 different depths in this range. This is number 2. They apply on the skin deeper than they appear in the pan. It's not a very powdery bronzer, but it's really buildable. And that's what I love about it, is it starts out quite sheer, but it builds and builds on itself really well without ever looking cakey and without ever looking powdery or ashy on the skin. Sometimes when you build up bronzers, they can look a little bit, just powdery on the skin. Like you can see it on the skin. This bronzer never does that. It has such a high quality powder formula that it builds on itself in a super airbrushed, filtered, beautiful way. I also love that these are refillable. I mean, I use this all the time and I've hardly made a dent in it, but they are refillable. So of course the case is gorgeous. It's really heavy. It has a nice click and you can just refill the pan when it's empty. I've also pulled out my other Victoria Beckham cheek products. These are the Cheeky Posh blush sticks. I've done a full review on all of these. I'll link that video in the cards and below as well. But I just grabbed for these because I was traveling a couple of weekends ago and I wanted a one and done, small, compact cream cheek product. I've got 4 of them in front of me and these are my most used. The one I'm wearing today is called Roller Skate and it looks scary in the tube. It's this really, really bright coral pink. It's almost neon in the tube, but applied to the cheeks, it sheers out to this kind of like watermelon juicy flush of color. My favorite way to apply this is to take a brush and kind of swipe it across the surface of the cream blush, and then I sort of stamp it on the cheeks. You can apply this directly to the cheeks and blend out. Like they don't get patchy, they don't look funny at all, but especially when working with a bright color like this, that's just how I like to apply it for the most even sheer wash of color. My next favorite is the shade Knickers, which is like a peachy melon sort of shade. It's the lightest shade in the bunch, so that's Roller Skate and that's Knickers. And it looks quite light in the tube, but actually on the cheeks it gives you a really beautiful kind of like petal pinky peach sort of flush. The next one is the shade Playground, which is a warm terracotta meets peach. It's definitely a shade deeper than Knickers, and for me, this is a really beautiful bronzer slash blush kind of shade. So that is the shade Playground right there. And the last one is the shade Mini Skirt. And Mini Skirt is kind of this burnt red. It kind of has a brick-like quality to it. This is a beautiful, like, sunburnt kind of shade. It works as a bronzer and a blush for me. So again, that is Roller Skate, Knickers, Playground, and Mini Skirt. And you can see why I love all of these shades. I also think that for a cream blush formula, these are among the longer wearing cream blushes that I have. They set down to a water resistant finish, so they're neither too dewy or matte. They just kind of have this nice luminosity on the skin. They're not sticky at all, but they don't budge until the end of the day. So the blush that you apply and the look that you create will last all day long. And my skin doesn't just eat it up, or even with oily skin, it doesn't break down the blush the way some cream blushes do. This actually sticks around on my skin. The last makeup items are brow products, and I've gone really old school with this, and I love it. So I have the Benefit 24-Hour Brow Setter, which is a clear brow gel, and the Shuamura Hard Formula Brow Pencil in the shade 09 Seal Brown. It's what I'm wearing in my brows today. So you know that I love my Refi Brow Sculpt. I love the Patrick Ta Lamination Brow Gel, but I was getting a little bit frustrated with the flaking that would sometimes happen with both formulas. So I've gone back to the 24-Hour Brow Setter, which is kind of closest to the Patrick Ta Lamination Brow Gel, but it doesn't set as quickly. So it starts out fluid. I kind of paint it on across the eye or across the eyebrow. And then as it's drying, I use the ridges of the brush to brush the brows into place. And this does take a little bit longer to set than the Patrick Ta for sure. It gives you more time to play with the brow product, but I find that once it sets, it's locked in all day long. And it doesn't get as gummy or as potentially flaky, like if you pick up a corner of the Patrick Ta brow gel after it's set, it's almost like it picks up that product across your whole brow. That doesn't really happen with the Benefit 24-Hour Brow Setter, so I'm finding it a little bit more reliable. As for the Shuamura Brow Pencil, you guys know I've basically only been using brow pens for the last year or so. Actually, this one, the Milani Weekend Brow, which is that inky liquid brow pen formula. And this is my favorite one for that kind of product. But I couldn't find one earlier this week, and so I actually opened this up, and I've been loving it. It creates a much softer brow look. You don't get nearly as much definition. You don't get the hair-like brow strokes that you do with a brow pen, but I've kind of been liking a little bit of a softer look. I think my brow hairs have just gotten longer and fuller because I basically don't touch my brows anymore. I mean, I pluck along the eyelid area if I have stray hairs, but for the most part, I've been on a do not touch policy with my brows for a really long time, and I think they're finally full enough that, especially when I lay them down to create a laminated brow look with the brow gel, I don't find that I have as many bald spots in my brows, and so having just a little bit of shadow to create a fluffier but fuller brow look has been really nice. And this is such a classic. I mean, it's very, very popular in Asia. It was very, very popular many years ago, and it's still just as good. I mean, I know we have an unlimited amount of brow products to pick from these days, but this just really works for me. And I think especially if you have cooler brow tones, if you're Asian, they have really great brow shades for you. To wrap up makeup, I actually want to talk about the makeup bag I've been traveling with. I did a pack with me vlog situation where I talked about my cushy bags. I've also done previous pack with me videos, and I have a couple of these bags. So these are leather makeup bags. They also do vegan leather and nylon. And the lining of this bag is completely machine washable. And so you can see it really opens up. And there are compartments, there's zippers, and you can unzip the lining to wash this in your washing machine, which I need to do this week. They hold up so well. I've had my cushy bags for a couple of years now, and they basically look brand new once the lining is washed. They also have brush cases and other organizer compartments that you can use on their own, or you can pair with their like leather or nylon cases. So it's just really well made. I think a great gift if you are looking to buy a gift for Mother's Day, for a beauty lover, a really nice thing to receive or to buy for yourself. Let's talk skincare. I just did a very big roundup of skincare I've been testing, and these products that I'm going to mention are all in that video, so I won't go into too much detail, but I have just loved these products that I have to talk about them. The first is the Dr. Loretta Intense Replenishing Serum. It is a beautiful barrier supporting serum. It's a really kind of thick gel texture, and it's quite surprising at first. I didn't know if it would work for me because it has this really thick consistency, and I have oily combo skin. I didn't think it would work for me, but it spreads out beautifully and then it just sinks in and it feels like your barrier is really supported. It creates this really nice veil over the skin. I also like this mixed into a lighter hyaluronic serum. If I want to thin out the consistency, that's what I've been doing in the mornings, just taking a drop of this into a hydrating serum. And then in the evening, I just use it on its own because I don't mind something a little bit richer. But even though the texture is thicker, it doesn't feel greasy on my skin, and it doesn't feel like it is just sitting on the surface of my skin. It actually absorbs. The other serum I've been loving is the Dew Skin Deliverance Trinity Serum. This contains CBD, it contains niacinamide, it contains peptides and hydrating ingredients, and it's just kind of a beautiful all-rounder. It's also great for sensitive skin. There's no fragrance in here. This one also doesn't contain fragrance. For me, this is an all-rounder in that it does the work of brightening. Because of the niacinamide, it evens out any dark spots and skin tone overall. It also contains the peptides to support anti-aging, and it also really calms the skin. I find that I'm really redness prone, and I find that my skin is really even, and the redness, any potential redness, goes away when I wake up after I use this. So I've been loving this as my all-rounder serum, whereas this one I've been loving for barrier support and deep moisture. So they're both really beautiful. They do very different things. Lighter texture, heavier texture. It just kind of depends what you're looking for in your routine. And then the Dew Skin Instant Angel Moisturizer, Lipid Rich Moisturizer has been an instant hit. It's a ceramide rich moisturizer. So again, if you're looking for barrier repair, if you're looking for deep moisture, this is going to be something you love. It also contains no fragrance, so very sensitive skin friendly. It is on the richer side, but surprisingly sinks in really quickly. And even if I use it in the morning, just a little bit, it's not too heavy or greasy or oily for me. And then at nighttime, I kind of just slather this on. It's really beautiful. And then I did have some breakouts while I was traveling this month. Breakouts always happen when you're traveling, right? And I found a new favorite acne patch. They're the Mighty Patches from Hero Cosmetics. They're just very sticky and very grippy. And compared to other patches I've tried that can potentially slip around the face if you have any bit of skincare or anything on the skin, these really hang on, even if you might have a little bit of skincare underneath. They just really stay put. And they've helped with whiteheads to kind of suck out the gunk. And they've also helped after a breakout to help with skin healing and to expedite the healing process and prevent any bacteria, any skincare, anything from getting into those healing spots. For fragrance, I have something new that I've been loving. This is the Cell Ocean Hair and Body Mist. So this has notes of honeysuckle muguet, which I think is a white floral, and pink sea salt. It's fresh, it's very light, it's kind of sweet. You would think it's super aquatic, but it's actually quite warm and skin-like. And it's a mist, it's a body mist. So it's very non-committal, which I like actually. Sometimes I want to smell nice and fresh, but I don't want to commit to a full-on eau de parfum, for example. And that's when I turn to this. I've actually really been liking this after a shower or after a bath. It just is a very clean scent, very refreshing, and it's also really affordable. I think this is $26. So it's the kind of thing that is just easy to wear. It's not super complex, it's not super heavy, it's not going to last forever for $26, but also that's kind of one of the pros about a body mist. For home fragrance, you know I've been loving my Cloud Gazer candle. I mentioned this in my last vlog. This is from the new Savant, which is Ingrid's candle brand, Ingrid Nilsson's candle brand. And this has notes of lavender sprigs, Earl Grey tea, misted freesia, steamed vanilla, and warm tonka. And it's just really lovely and creamy and subtle and inviting, but not heavy. It's creamy in a way that's not like your traditional like vanilla scents or more wintry, heavier scents. This is very light and fresh and yet still warm and inviting at the same time. It's the perfect springtime scent, and it's kind of one of those things that surprises you because it fills a room without you really noticing that it fills a room until you leave and come back, and all of a sudden you realize it smells delicious. I think Ingrid mentioned that her inspiration for this candle was a lavender latte, a lavender chai latte. And I definitely see that. It's not floral forward the way that you think of when you think of lavender, but it has that bit of lightness and complexity. And then a few fashion bits to close out the favorites. I have some jewelry from Daisy Jewelry that I've been loving. These are a couple of newer pieces. I think I've had them for about a month or so, and I've gotten so much wear out of them. So these are the Goddess Glow hoop earrings. They are 18 karat gold plated, and they have a bit of flower detail. They're a hoop, but they're a really lightweight hoop that's sort of a midi size. I mean, obviously these are larger. This is somewhere between a huggy and a really large hoop, but they're really wearable for every day, and I like that bit of texture that they have. They also have that little daisy flower embossing, and I love the little floral embossing. It's like a floral sunburst kind of embossing along the edge of the hoop. So it adds a little bit of texture to the hoop overall that makes it sort of different and a little bit more interesting than a solid gold hoop. Though obviously I love those too. It's just nice to mix it up. And they're so lightweight that I can wear them all day without any discomfort. The other item is called the Isla Fossil Charm Necklace. So it's a very delicate gold chain necklace, again 18 karat gold plated, and it has these gold charms that are hanging off of the necklace, and each charm has the embossing of a fossil, or at least it's inspired by the sort of imprint of fossils in stone. So I thought this was also a really nice way of layering necklaces. I've really liked this with a curb chain necklace or like a paperclip gold necklace to create a bit of texture. Again, still very wearable, delicate, not too bold for every day, but just a nice way to add a bit of interest along the neckline. I recently picked up another shade of this tank top, this pink shade that I'm wearing. It's from And Other Stories. It's a knit tank top. I now have it in 4 colors. I have it in white, black, and this beautiful light green color. And now I have it in pink, which I love for summer. It's a great layering piece because it has that texture of the knit, but it's also very lightweight. So you can wear it on its own. You can wear it tucked into pants. You can wear it with trousers. You can wear it under a linen shirt or something like that. And so I wear these all the time. You've seen them probably a million times by now, but I'm really glad that they're back in stock and they brought them back this year. And I'm wearing a size small. It is true to size and it has quite a bit of stretch. And for a few summer fashion pieces, I pulled out my A Goldie denim shorts again. I love the D shorts. They're really high-waisted, they have a frayed hem, and they have a slightly longer inseam than like booty shorts, you know? And don't get me wrong, I love my Daisy Dukes shorts as well, but on a day-to-day, I kind of want something with a little bit of length that I'm not worried about any riding or any camel toe or anything like that. And these are the best shorts. I have them in 3 washes. I have them in light blue, black, and white. I'm actually thinking about picking them up in a new size because I have lost some weight recently and they already run a little bit big and they're quite loose on me. But I wore my white shorts to Coachella with a belt, and even though they were kind of big, I sort of liked them that way. I do tend to like an oversized denim short. I just find them to be a little bit more flattering. They're also a great option if you have thick thighs or if you have bigger hips because they sort of flare out at the bottom. And so they're not really tight around the thigh. They give you a lot of room to move around and they don't give you any weird lumps and bumps or any kind of wrinkling around your crotch or where you sit down. They won't leave any weird lines. You know what I mean? Not quite a camel toe, but like just weird tugging and pulling. And lastly, I've been getting a ton of wear out of my Birkenstocks clogs. I showed you when I purchased them. They are the Boston Mules in the shade Clay, which is it's like a little bit of a warmer beige. They also have a taupe shade that's in their permanent line, but this year they brought out the Clay shade and I like it because it's a little bit more of a warm tone, like a creamy, milky, warm tone. And they're so comfortable, of course. And I also have been getting a ton of wear out of my Birkenstocks Arizonas, and I have those in black leather, and I wear them basically every day. So that's it for me for my April favorites. I would love to hear what your favorites were. If there's anything that really stuck out to you, beauty, skincare, fashion, anything, I love to hear it all. And if you're not subscribed, obviously I would love for you to subscribe and hang out with me some more. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.